What's up YouTube, Redbeard's Garage, and welcome back to another video. Today we're getting back to the 4-seater go-kart build. So I took a little bit of a break on the 4-seater because it's a lot of work, a lot of tedious work, and I just wanted to go on to some other projects. Now, one thing I do want to note to get this video started is I don't like to push one go-kart out a lot on my channel. I like to do one video a week, like let's say on the 4-seater go-kart, I like to do one video a week and then switch it up to maybe a street go-kart, Little Red, or the chopper build, because I don't want to push one go-kart in your face too much. It kind of gets boring that way in my eyes. So today we're going to try to get that roll cage all fabbed up and see what it'll look like on there. We're really close to getting the main part of the frame done, then we can move on to the engine section. It's going to be hanging off the rear of the go-kart and have shocks kind of like a Yerf Dog or a 150cc go-kart has. So without taking too much of your time, let's jump right into this 4-seater go-kart and get some of it done. What I've been doing is pretty much mocking it all up, the roll cage, to see how I want it to go. It's going to be setting kind of like this. It's going to look a lot like a truck cab. Some people might like this, some people may not. I was going to do it from the hood area and slant it back at a more of an angle, but I think it looks better kind of angled from this point, like I said, to make it look like kind of a truck cab. Now this is how I did this whole entire build. What I'll do is mock something up, cut all the metal and tack it all in place, just to give you an idea of how long this whole thing's taken me. But I'll get it all mocked up, tack it all in place, and then I'll have to cut it. Once I get everything the way I like it, have to cut it all back apart. Then I start the camera, showing me tacking everything in place again, and then fully welding it. It's a real tedious process, takes a lot of time. One episode, like I've said in the past, can take up to 20 hours, and that's ridiculous. So I'm getting this mocked up. I'm going to do one side, then I'm going to kind of copy everything that I did over here on the other side, and I will show you how I cut my angles. I do them with my old trusty Porter cable angle grinder. So I'm going to get to cutting these angles, finding out how this is all going to go, and we'll pull out the camera and get the rest of the stuff tacked in place and then welded, and then we can go on to the rest of the front end junk. Now I'm just going to clean all this up, and I always round over all of my edges really nice so you can get a real good bead of weld in between the two pieces of metal. You don't want them just button up as a clean joint. You want them corners to be beveled a little bit, so like I said, you can get a good flow of weld in that crack. So I'm going to clean these up, and I always clean up about an inch or so from where I'm going to be welding, so it's all, this metal's got like a real not greasy, but I don't know, it's really filthy metal. I don't know if it's like old or something, I don't know, but we'll get all this stuff mocked up and get it on the go-kart. So now I got to tack all this back onto the go-kart. This is the hardest part probably, because you don't know really where you want it to meet. So how I kind of did it was I cut a 22.5 degree angle on where it's going to meet the dashboard, and then I just cut the pipe a little bit longer than it needed, tacked it into place just sticking up. Then I just cut a random piece of pipe a little bit longer than I needed it again, welded it, tacked it onto the back of the roll cage, and brought it forward so they was basically meeting like this, so I could find out how I wanted my corner angle. You'll see it all when it all goes together. It's kind of hard to explain this because, you know, I don't even know what I'm doing half the time. You know what I'm saying? Okay, before I welded all this on, I did trace out all this so I could duplicate it on the other side. I may have to tweak it a little bit, and this isn't exactly where it's going to be. What I need to do is weld in the other side or tack it all in. Then I can measure the inside diameter on the rear of this roll cage and match that up here, because I want this to be straight. Right now this is kind of, I believe it's angled out towards me. So once I get the other piece tacked in, like I said, I can measure that inside diameter, cut a crossbar to go in here, and I can tack that crossbar in. That's going to keep everything centered the way I need it, and I just need to make sure that they both aren't to the left or the right, and then I can, you know, finish putting my arms in. And once I do that, I'm going to cut, I may do 2 crossbars right here and do a light bar in the center. I'm not sure yet. I'm wanting to see what it'll look like with 2. Either way, a light bar is going up here. I didn't know if, you know, what 2 will look like. And I may do an X on the top. I may not. I may do one down the center, or I may do one across. I haven't decided yet. Probably to keep one with the line of the hood, I'll do one down the center, most likely. And probably going to, I may do sheet metal on the roof as well, so it's kind of cab, you know, cabbed in, as you will. But yeah, and we may also do plexiglass front windshield in this. I think it'd be pretty cool. Or a Lexan. Lexan's a little bit different than plexiglass. Plexiglass scratches easier. Lexan's more of a glass type material. It's still plastic, but it has more of a texture of glass, so it's a little bit stronger. But that'd be pretty cool. Put a window. What I'd do is weld some like 1/2 inch wide flat stock going down each side. You know, set back however thick the Lexan's going to be, so the window would set flush in here. And then have, you know, screws every 4 inches or so all the way around it. I think that looked pretty sweet, you know, like look like rivets almost, putting the window in. And yeah, but let's keep on going. I got to cut one more piece to go on this side, and then I can start tacking all this in and see, you know, how it's all going to sit. Getting excited. Okay, now these aren't lined up at all. This one's like further out up top. But like I said, what's really going to pull this all in is when I add this bar and tack it in place. And I'm just going to tack it just enough to hold it, so when I make this crossbar that's going to meet from here to this point, you know, that's the same width as the back, I can draw it all in then. You know, I can push it in, see what side needs to go in, and kind of tap it all in, tack it into place. I may even have to cut a tack to get it to move, but never have did anything like this before. This is the first time. The only other thing big I've made out of metal was my roof rack on my truck, and I'll put a couple of pictures of it. I think I actually got a few pictures of it on the truck. It's not on it right now because I'm making a few changes, and it will be back up on the truck later. But we're gonna get this part cut, get it tacked in, and like I said, then we can bend everything kind of in line. Then we can check, you know, across, make sure the flat side and the flat side is even with like a 2x4 or another piece of square tubing laid across. But this will be the most tedious part probably of the whole build, other than that front end section. That was a little bit of a booger. Like I said, I'm not the greatest at no geometry, but you make it work. The more you do it, the more you learn. And where I haven't did this in like 2 weeks, you forget some of that geometry that you learn from cutting angles and meeting angles. You know, if you have 2 pieces of metal, this one going straight, this one needs to kick down at a 45. You can't just cut a 45 in it and meet this pipe at a flat end. It's not going to angle right. So what you need to do is you need to cut that angle in half and apply it to both sides. So you do a 22.5 on this and 22.5 cut, and they'll meet at a perfect 45. Geometry, listen in school, kids. I didn't. So some people may not like it, but I like it quite a bit. It reminds me of kind of the farm style side by side with how the cage is. There is going to be another part to the cage that'll help it, you know, with looks a little bit, but that's pretty much the gist of it. I do like it though. It looks pretty nice. There's going to be a bar going from the lower corner right there up to this lower bar. It's going to tie it in a lot, and then I'm going to do something with the open top. Now, I do need to tweak this because to me, it looks a little bit cockeyed. May not to you, but it does to me. I'm going to adjust it some, and everything's just tacked in place right now. So we'll get everything, you know, lined up as best as we can. So I think next I'm going to weld in the little corner pieces down here. Then the front end will be pretty much complete. There's some flat stock stuff I want to do in it, and of course make the grill, but that's last kind of last little things that I'll do. But after the roll cage is fully done, then I'm going to start on the motor section, which I'm going to move the frame off of this piece of metal, clean the metal up because it does have a lot of dust on it, and then build the motor cage on this flat surface. So we're getting really close. Once the motor cage is done, I can start working on the front A-arms because it will have A-arm front suspension and shocks and everything, but I don't know how tall I want this to sit off the ground. Of course, I don't want it to want to roll over easy, but we are going to put something, pretty much a 420 just like that on this go-kart, not for the power, just where I could governor it down and it still have a lot of torque, and also for the electric start. That's the biggest reason I want a 420 on this go-kart, so the kids can pretty much go out and start it, and you know, if I'm not home and just my wife's home, she don't have to pull start it or anything. So we're going to keep on going. We'll get them pieces welded in there and then tack those up, and we're going to finish out this roll cage. So I went ahead and cut all this back off because I had to completely reconfigure it. Last night I was trying to do all this by myself, and it didn't work out too well, which I had everything pretty close. I think I only had to recut one or two little pieces. So now this is all squared up and level. Everything looks really nice, and the light bar is going to set in this opening right here. This will fit a 22-inch light bar. The main frame of the go-kart, outside to outside, is 32 inches, and I think this is something around, like, I guess it'd be 24 inches because this is inch tubing, and if that's a 22-inch gap, then obviously 24 inches. So now what I'm going to do is, I'll come over to the other side and show you, is I'm going to take a piece. I'm only going to have to notch it on one side, and I'm going to come from this corner point right here and basically come back to this back corner and kind of make this kind of shape to it. I think it adds a lot to the roof of the go-kart, if you can see that. And then I may do like a brace from that to that. Maybe not, I may leave it open. I don't know. And then the last part is weld in here dead center, one going straight down the center of the roof. And I may, you know, brace it up some more, I'm not sure. I was going to do it like this, but I feel like this follows the line on the hood, in the center of the hood, so that would look better. So that's what I'm going to do now, is I'm going to get these cut up, and this will be a straight cut, so I'm going to get it knocked out, and then find the angle that I need to, you know, to meet this right in that area, and get all this trimmed up. So we'll get that done, and I'll pull the camera out when I'm ready to tack it all in place. The roll cage is all welded up. I am going to add those side pieces from the corners there to the bar right there. That'll add a lot of look to it. I know you really can't tell it right now, but she does look like a school bus, I'm not going to lie. I will actually put a picture on the screen right now of the school bus that I'm talking about. But once the tires and the engine area is on it, it's going to completely change the look of it. It's going to, like I said, it's going to look a lot like the farm style side-by-sides. You know how they're more boxier and don't have the sport look like a Razor does. But I do like it quite a bit. I do have to weld this is just sitting on there with a clamp holding the front. I do have to clean this pipe up, and then I can tack that in, and then the front end on both sides, of course, and the front end will be completely done other than adding the stuff for the A-arms, which, you know, that'll be in the next video, hopefully. And then I'm going to order a light bar for this opening there, if you can see it. It's kind of hard to tell, you know, because the back section of the pipe kind of blends in with the front on camera and video, but it's turned out pretty nice. And I still haven't welded those Nerf bars on. That'll happen once I flip the go-kart up on its side, grind all the bottom welds smooth, so it'll set flat on this piece of metal again, set perfectly level, so I can just butt those against it, weld around the tops. We can raise it up later and I can weld the bottoms. But she's coming along really nice. Let me know what y'all think. We're really close. It's gonna pretty much, the next video will be done the rear engine cage and getting all that tidied up, and then we're going to do the little basket off the rear of the go-kart, the little luggage rack, and I think that'll add a lot to it also. So yeah, so guys, the four-seater go-kart's coming along really nice. I do like the roll cage. It might look like a school bus a little bit, but I do like how it's turning out. It looks, like I said in the video, it looks like a four-seater, like a farm style side-by-side, so I'm pretty happy with it. In the next video, I got a few little pieces to add to that roll cage in the front end, and then pretty much the main frame is done, and I have to do those Nerf bars. So we'll do all that in the next episode and start on that rear motor cage. We are going to be putting a 420cc like I had mentioned before, so we'll have enough power, and in the future, if they, you know, want to set out the throttle screw, they'll have even more power, so the thing won't get boring. As always, guys, make sure to go to Go Power Sports and check them out. They have awesome go-kart parts, all kinds of stuff to choose from on there, so make sure to use that Redbeard discount code to get 10% off of your purchase. And also go check out New Dimension Towers. They provided all the metal for this go-kart build. Make sure to go give them a shout if you're interested in one of their aluminum boat towers. Now guys, this thing's coming slowly but surely. We'll be getting this thing done, I think, a couple more months, and it should be fully done. There's a lot of stuff to do still on this thing. We got to do all the wiring, we got to do paint, and paint will be one of the last things. After wiring and everything, then I'll strip everything off of it and we'll get it painted. Then we'll come back and final assemble it and see what the kids think about it. So guys, let me know in the comments below what you think about this go-kart build. I'm getting pretty excited. I can't wait to see how it turns and how it runs. You know, I've never built a go-kart frame, especially to this size, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see how everything works out on it. Don't forget, guys, to check out them sponsors and always come back to Redbeard's Garage. I'm out.